Jai Jagat, dear audience, I am Shah Umar, the student coordinator of The Voices. Today's podcast is going to be our inaugural podcast, and in conversation, we are going to have Miss Anaika Pathak. She is the co founder of an NGO named Yuva Yodha. This NGO is creating a big impact outside. She is also an international student pursuing her computer engineering degree from the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. This podcast is going to be very beneficial for all of you. This is the reason I advise all of you to please watch this episode from the starting till the end.
Okay, so Miss Anaika, how has your journey been? Going abroad and studying and being an international student?
Um, the journey has been, I don't know, it's been full of ups and downs, I would say. I don't think it's extremely glamorous as you see all the influencers telling you on social media. It's not just about putting on great clothes and going around, roaming around, and just, clicking good pictures and watching pretty sunsets. That's not all it's about. I think it's a lot about your academic degree as well, obviously. And then it's a lot about you making a relationship with your own self, like I for one, I did not have a very strong relationship with my own conscience before I went abroad. But then when you land there in this country full of people that you have absolutely no clue who they are, and there are so many cultural differences, you try to be your own best friend. And I think that's a very important journey, and I'm on that journey. So yeah, it's been full of ups and downs, but I'm very grateful for it because it's amazing, it's beautiful, and I think if you have the opportunity, you should definitely go on this journey once. Yeah.
Okay, so how has the institution inspired you for all your endeavors?
I think I came in CMS when I was in ninth, and it was a difficult time for me because I had come from a different city. It was very different for me. The people were different, the culture was different. But then I think the teachers and the overall system in this school kind of supports you a lot academically. That, like, they'll make sure that you are excelling in academics. They will take your remedial classes, they will ensure that you're getting good grades. Your teachers take it as a personal affair to make sure that you're doing well. That helps a lot. And apart from that, I think the values that they inculcate in the child eventually help the child just sow the seeds of some or the other beneficial effort. Like, for example, I started a non-profit, I was a part of a lot of different programs as well. So I think all those values just came into me by being a part of all the events like JYP and the Chief Justice's conference. Everything just comes back to a bunch of morals that this school inculcates in you, which is very, very important. And I think CMS students just stand out because of it. So that's definitely there.
So we can say that the institution prepares us to face the difficulties outside the institution, the pressures outside the
Of
institutions.
course, of course. If you survive this school, you can survive anything. The school prepares you for everything. Trust me on that. Yeah.
Okay, and in which course are you enrolled in, and what's the name of your institute?
Okay, so I am majoring in computer engineering at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. It's in a town called Amherst, which is like a 3-hour drive from Boston. So my degree is mostly just normal engineering, but instead of it being a accumulation of electronics and computers, it is more focused towards computer engineering. So it has more of hardware, but it is not purely software based. It also has, like, obviously hardware and more on the kinematic side of things, like more on the practical side of things. So yeah, it's a little bit different from computer science and a little bit different from electrical engineering, so it's somewhere in the middle.
So did you have interest in computer science and technology when you were in school as well?
Yeah, I think I discovered my interest for coding when I was in like 7th or 8th grade, and it was a very slight interest. I wasn't sure if I want to pursue that for sure, But then eventually, I think I started being a part of more projects, more organizations, the New York Academy of Sciences, and I realized that okay, this is something that I could do. And I think this is a common misconception that people think that oh, computer engineering is just coding and it is just fixing machines. That's not what it is all about, and I think it's a lot more than that, which I'm exploring right now. So yeah, I think I can say I did have interest in it.
How did the school empower you to take it as a passion, take it as a hobby?
I think CMS is one of the few schools in Lucknow that has a compulsory subject as computer science. Like, I think till ninth grade, it's compulsory for you. After that, if you don't opt for commerce, computer science is there with you. And then in 11th, 12th, also, you get the option for it, which I don't think a lot of schools in Lucknow give anymore. Being affiliated with ICSC, but our school does that. Like a lot of schools have that choice between physical education and computer science, and people just go for physical education. That oh, it's easier, it's easier. Physical education is not easy, bhai. It's actually pretty challenging. And computer science, if you have interest in it, I would definitely ask you to opt for it. But CMS makes sure that you have both the subjects with you in 11th and 12th. CMS is the only school who does that. And apart from that, I think in my school, the CMS computer science faculty is amazing. Like those teachers are actually so passionate about teaching, and they are so passionate about exploring new options because this is a very happening field. So the teachers, it is very important for them to be constantly up to date with what is going on, so that if a student comes up to them and asks them something, they have answers to give. And I think CMS faculty does a great job at it. All the teachers are very well versed with everything. So if a child has interest in computer science, it's the best thing they can do for themselves if they're a CMS student. Yeah.
And it's all the time going on that focus on profile building in our institute. You should get certificates, and you should be a part of extracurricular activities as well, learning beyond the classroom walls. Did that help in any way?
Of course it did. I think this is a very common understanding point that you read something in class, right? You read a bunch of chapters, you read a bunch of stuff that your teacher writes on the board. When you don't learn in your class, when you go back home and you think about it, or when you're on your way back in the bus and you're thinking about something that happened in the classroom, that is when the learning is happening. Your learning in the classroom is very limited, and it is very limited to what the teacher is teaching you. Your own mind starts working when you sit with your own self and think about it. So I think that helps. And apart from that, all the experiences that you gain outside of your classroom, be it a part of extracurriculars, like if you're into music, dance, art, calligraphy, absolutely anything in terms of extracurriculars, or if it's social work, if you're a part of JYP, if you're a part of an NGO or anything of that sort, you learn life values from there. You don't learn those from the textbook. So I think you should be as involved as you can in your extracurriculars, provided that you're not letting your academics suffer. So do not waste time doing anything else, but try to channelize as much of your time and energy as you can in gaining experiences outside of your classroom. They help a lot, and they teach you things that your books will never be able to, and you'll have to learn these lessons eventually in life. So you might as well learn them as early as possible, or else you'll learn them in college, you'll learn them in your job, you'll learn them when you grow up, when you have your own family, whatever. It's better to learn them as early as possible.
So, what all hobbies did you pursue when you were in high school? Apart from computer science, which I suppose it was the primary thing in your bucket list.
I think I didn't pursue computer science as a hobby. I always looked at it as an academic uh, field, but then I was passionate about it, so I was able to correlate it with my extracurriculars. Like I was coding for good, as in I was pursuing projects that were helping real life problems. Like for example, I basically worked with the Google Earth engine, so that's helping biodiversity, that's helping wetland conservation and all of that. So that's just how I looked at things. But apart from that, I think in extracurriculars I did a lot of things because my when I was a kid, I used to go to this daycare, right? Because both my parents were working, and I used to sit there and I used to get really bored. So my mom enrolled me in every single hobby class possible. So calligraphy, singing, dancing, yoga, and aerobics, and all of that, whatnot. I did everything. And then gradually, I think when I came to Lucknow, I was able to pursue two, three things. I was pursuing music, I was pursuing dance, and I was pursuing calligraphy. I wasn't able to pursue art that much. I was able to pursue writing. So I think it helps a lot if you have these things on your profile, because that is actually what colleges are looking for apart from your grades. So I mean, just telling them that, okay, I like to sing, that's not enough. You need to have achieved something in that field. For example, if I like singing, I got a master's degree from Bhatkhande, right? So currently, I am a master's student in Bhatkhande. I am pursuing Indian classical music. So if you put it like that, it feels like, okay, this child has achieved a certain benchmark in that field. So then it matters. But before that, as a hobby, everybody likes doing something or the other. So it's very important to take your hobby to a certain level. That's what. So yeah, that's about my extracurriculars.
And to tell the audience that ma'am has also started an NGO named Yuva Yodha. So ma'am, if you could tell us that what is Yuva Yodha about and what inspired you, what motivated you to start this NGO?
So I think it was in when I was in class 10th and my boards got cancelled because I was myself infected with COVID at that point, and all of my friends were also at home. Everybody was locked up, and my mom works for the state government, so I was just randomly I just overheard her, and she told me that, oh, this local hospital is looking for volunteers, and I had recovered by that time. So I was like, okay, I'll go and I'll work. I mean, why not, right? You can just give back to the society like that. And I was working at that local hospital, and then I used to call people every day and I used to ask them what they're doing, how they're doing, if they need anything, if they need any resources, all the infected people in that area. And then one day I called this man up and I was like, hi, how are you doing? Do you need any help? And his son picked up the call, and his son was like, oh, my dad died. And I was very shocked, like, how did that happen? I just called this man up yesterday and he was like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm completely all right. And today I'm calling him and he's like, oh, my his son picked up and he's like, oh, my dad died because we weren't able to figure out that the son told me that they weren't able to figure out that the dad is running really high fever and his oxygen level had dropped to a very serious level. So that is why they couldn't do it, and they didn't have any oximeters or thermometers at their home because the government hospital was closed near them. So they weren't able to get the appropriate resources required. So that's why they weren't able to diagnose the disease at time. And that just, I think that was the moment when I was like, oh, just working in a hospital and calling people every day is not doing enough. And I have the energy, like I am willing to put in more effort. So why not just collect more people who are like me and just work for something bigger? So this just started out randomly, and a bunch of 5 people from my class, we decided that, okay, let's just make oximeter and thermometer kits and distribute them to villages where people are not getting access to the early diagnosis treatment. And that's how it started. And then eventually I thought that, oh, if we can do this much, we might as well just go ahead and work for other social causes as well. And that's how it started. And then from 5 people, we have a 350 people team in 3 to 4 cities now, and it is getting bigger and bigger every day. And I'm so grateful for all the people who've joined us. And we're working in a lot of different fields, for example, biodiversity conservation, women health and hygiene, education, child welfare, post COVID relief, in general, old age home help, all the resources that they need. So, all of those projects we're pursuing, and I think it's just because we feel like we have the energy and we just have to put it to the right use. That's it.
I would also like to ask you that how did the institute help in building such an NGO?
So I was a part of JYP, and I remember when I had this idea, I called up my JYP animator head, and with their ma'am, and I was just talking to her and she was like, yeah, this is a very good idea, you should go ahead with this. I was like, okay, but ma'am, we don't have any experience or anything. She was like, okay, you come to me, we'll talk to you about this. You can talk to your senior animators about how they have done community projects. And she immediately connected me to this huge network of people who've already been doing community service, right? And I talked to them, and then I learned how to make teams and all of that. And then apart from that, I think when the NGO started gearing up, when everything was, actually on track, I was kind of lagging behind in academics in the middle. Like, I remember in 11th, I think I had a small downfall. I was not scoring well. And I told my teachers about it, and they were so supportive. I did not expect that, but they took this as a personal setback, and they were like, no, you are a good student, you need to score well, so you'll sit with us one day, or you'll sit with us 1 hour every day after classes, and you'll study with us, you'll tell me what you don't understand, and I'll teach you everything. And they did, like, for one day for physics, one for chemistry, one for math. Every week I used to stay back, and then they used to teach me 1 hour extra, one-on-one, and eventually it got better. But then again, it's because the teachers took my academics as their own personal affair. They were also staying back 1 hour with me every single day. So I think that gap that this school fills between the student and the teacher, when you can actually confront your teacher about any problem that's bothering you, that's very important for a school to have. You should have, your teachers should be that level of comfortable with you. So that is something that CMS gives, and that is why the child has infinite potential. They can do absolutely anything because they have everybody supporting you in this ecosystem. So yeah, that's it.
I would also like to ask you that Yuva Yodha is doing very well right now. But how do you see Yuva Yodha 3 years, 5 years from now? How colossal is it going to be in the future?
See, the idea is very basic. It is basically uniting the youth in working for a common cause, right? So it's just that as long as people have that motive in their head that they want to do something for the society, which I don't think it's going anywhere. I've seen people from your age group as well. I've seen people even smaller than you in classes 6th, 7th, 8th, younger to you. I've seen every age group of people, and I see that class of people, the people who are aside from the crowd, who are going to think about how to give back to the society. And now, as long as people like that exist, this organization is just going to grow, because that is what we do. We unite the youth. I'm not giving you any powerful resources, I'm not giving you a sword, I'm just giving you a platform. You can join the NGO and then pursue whatever public domain project that you want and fulfill it and make an impact. I am just giving you the platform. Everything else is just the students, and it's been going on for 3 years already. So I don't think there's any stopping. 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, projects will keep coming in, students will keep coming in, and we'll continue to create impact. That's it.
That's a very nice initiative. I would also like to question you further that what support did the government give you in taking up such a project? Did the government support?
See, initially, I think it was difficult to get to the authorities because they don't really. The government authorities are not the most approachable authorities, which is again very understandable because a lot of people often misuse all the powers that they could get, all the support that they get from the authorities. But I think I pursued our government. I think I pursued the SDM the first time for the oximeter kits. I wrote an email to him, he didn't reply. I wrote a letter to him, he didn't reply. And then I was like, you know what, this is not working. I have to go down there myself. So I gathered a team of 2 other people. All 3 of us wore Yuva Yodha t-shirts, and we got ready with a dress code, and we took the kits with ourselves, and we went and straight away barged into the room, and we were like, sir, we need your help. And he saw the 3 of us being so adamant, and he was like, of course, sit down, talk to me, tell me whatever it is, how can I help you? So I think the government was very supportive once they noticed that this is something genuine and not a hoax, right? So you just have to gain the trust of an authority, whether it's the government, whether it's your school. Even in your school, if your teachers think your efforts are genuine, they will walk to the ends of the world to support you. And it's the same with the government, it's the same with any form of authority. They are willing to help you, they just need to gain that trust, right? So that's there. And then the government was very supportive for every single project that we needed. They were always ready to give us the police force. They were always ready to give us the permissions, the letters, the official, procedures for everything that happens in an NGO. It was all very planned out, but after I was able to gain their trust. So that's the ice breaking part of it. Or once that's done, it's, yeah, they're very supportive.
Audience, it's amazing to know this fact that an alumna from our school is creating a big impact outside. I would
Thank
really like to thank you, Miss Anaika,
you.
and thank you for being here with us. It
Thank
was
you.
great talking to you. I hope so that the audience enjoyed this podcast. It was very informative, and if you did, please do show us your support by subscribing to this channel and liking this podcast.